Hi everybody. So this is Girl Talk with Issy, and we're going to be having a discussion today about rape culture in Nigeria. So just give me a few minutes and I will invite Maureen to join us. Okay, hi Maureen. I see that you're here. Okay. Sent an request. Okay, so I just accepted your request. Oh, hi. Hello. Nice to see you. Can you hear me? Hi. It's like your screen is frozen. Can you hear me properly? Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Sorry for the whole request issue because I didn't know why it wasn't accepting it before. But yeah, nice to meet you virtually. I've been sort of following your content and you're doing a lot of great work. So I'm really interested in what we have to discuss today because I think it's a very important discussion. So I think we could just kickstart it and we'll start going. Is that okay with you?
Totally fine. I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So first of all, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about who you are and your story as a survivor. So if you could just start with that.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. So a couple of
Yes.
my friends know that whenever you call me or whenever I get an invite to talk about advocacy, talk about what I do as it has to do helping survivors of rape and sexual abuse, I'm always very excited. It's like one of the core things I do with my life. So thank you for inviting me and thank you for having me today.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Maureen Oluwatosi. I'm a teacher, a writer. I do a lot of things here and there, but most importantly, for the purpose of this conversation this evening, I run an advocacy initiative for survivors of rape and sexual abuse, where I simply help them transition on their journey of healing to the point of wholeness. And of course, I'm very invested in seeing what we can do to end rape, sexual abuse, and sexual violence in
Yeah.
Nigeria, Africa. Of course, as God will have it, you can expand it globally. So that's the core of what I do as it has to do with that. So that's that. So about my story. So what I do, everything I do as it has to do with advocacy is under an umbrella I call Demystify Abuse Campaign. And Demystify Abuse Campaign started in 2016 after a personal experience that I had survived. So the story is quite linear. I was at home when armed robbers broke into my house. And when they broke into my apartment, I thought they were just there to steal. I thought they were just there to maybe take my phone or take the devices I had on me or take money. Of course, they took
Mm-hmm.
all of that, but when they were done, they went ahead and threatened to rape myself and my roommate at that point. So at gunpoint that day, we were raped, and the most annoying thing, yeah, the rape was annoying, but what was even much more annoying was the fact that the guys threatened me and said they wouldn't want to.
Mhm.
Municipal abuse campaign, and that started in 2016. And so someone can hear.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm not sure why the audio isn't doing well. I've checked that my own audio should be fine. Maury, maybe you should also check on your end and just maybe try to raise your voice a little bit, and hopefully. Yeah, I can hear you, but it's a little bit low. That's what I noticed. Maybe, sorry, that the connection is a little bit off. Yeah, I can hear you, but maybe yeah, raise your voice up a little bit because the audio is fine. I can hear you, but I think maybe it's just that it's a bit low.
Understand that you have walked the path that they are walking on. So when you
Oh, sorry. Is it that you can't hear her? Is it that you can't hear her at all? Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, from my own end, what I can see is that the connection is not very too strong,
okay,
but I can't hear her though.
okay.
Okay, it's better now. The connection is better now, but before it was a bit off. Okay, yeah, try to, yeah, keep, yeah, yes, continue on. Sorry, the connection is a bit off. Somebody had mentioned, yeah. The thing is that I can hear you, but the fact that somebody said that they couldn't hear you and the audio is on and off, I'm just like, this is always the challenge with the connection. Oh. Okay, it's stable now. You can continue.
I'm talking to has walked this path, and this person can give me practical lessons. So that was how I.
Hmm. You see, the internet connection is not too stable. And I'm not really sure how to go about it, whether it's my end or her end. Yeah, it keeps going on and off. Let's just wait and see if she's going to be able to come back on, because if not, it might be a problem. Let's see. Yeah, so sorry, because unfortunately this happens sometimes. The connection is not always too great. So let's see if she can come back in again, and then we'll try. But if not, I'm not sure that this might work. Let me see if I can get her to join back in again. Let's see. This is one of the problems. I think if I'm going to be doing interviews, I might just have to be seeing how I can go about this. But yeah, sorry, the connection has been that. I don't know how we can go about this. Is it?
I've swapped my internet. I've swapped internet again. So I have 3 standby internet. I have 3 yeah. So I had to swap to the 3rd one. So I believe this is better.
Okay, I think this one should be better, but
okay.
Okay, this one should be stronger, but it should be more stable.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and I'm even hearing you better now. So
nice.
Let us proceed. Please continue from where you started off, because you were saying that one of the things that happened after you experienced the rape was that he tried to silence your voice, but he said that you weren't going to be silenced, that you'd continue to keep speaking up. So go ahead.
Yeah. So like I said, when the robbers threatened me and said that I shouldn't speak up, I was angry. And I guess that anger was channeled into stubbornness. And I'm like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Let's talk about it, right? So I began to talk about the experience, and I paid close attention to my healing. But one significant thing I did on my journey to healing and wholeness, I decided that I was going to use my life as an experiment, use my life as an example to help other survivors through and undergo their journey of healing to the point of wholeness. So that was how the Demystify Abuse campaign started.
Great, wonderful. And I wanted us to just hear a little bit about that healing process, because you said even before the rape happened, you had gone through abuse. So what was your process for that abuse, and what was your process also dealing with the rape after?
Okay, so the first thing, and I believe is the most important thing for me on my journey of healing to the point of wholeness, is to actually believe that healing is possible. Over the years, I've spoken with a lot of young persons, I've spoken with a lot of survivors who have bought into the idea that total healing and wholeness is not possible. And that's not true. Right? So when I began to embark on that journey, one of the first things I did was to actually believe that this experience that I had survived is not the end to my life. There's a life after that. If I didn't die as a result of that experience, then that experience is not supposed to truncate my life. Right? So I had to believe first that total healing and recovery was very possible. And after believing that healing and recovery was possible, the next thing I did was to look out for people who had also gone through similar experiences, hear their testimony, and hear some of the things that they did, some of the things that they've shared that helped them on their journey. And one significant woman that I listened to for a lot of years was Joyce Meyer. How she talked about her abuse, everything she did, right? Wow. So I could see that template, and because I could see the template, it was easier for me to embark on that journey because I knew my destination, because I had seen a blueprint or a template before me. So I kept listening to Joyce Meyer, listening to her testimonies. Of course, because I'm a believer, I believe in the power of God's word. So I had to delve deep into the Bible to see what God had to say concerning healing and recovery. And I saw a lot of scriptures that talked about how God could heal us and take us back to the point where our life was not going to, the traces of the previous experience would not be visible in our life. And that was what I wanted, right? So when I saw it in the Bible, I held on to those promises, and I told God that this is what I wanted. I wanted to live a life that when people look at me, they won't be able to place me side by side with the fact that I had experienced something traumatic as rape or as traumatic as sexual abuse. So I consistently fed myself with scriptures to actually know that my father could heal me. Then next thing I began to do was to speak up. I learned the power of speaking up. What you're quiet about, you're not going to heal. What you don't expose, you're not going to find solutions and answers to. So I began to open up about my experience. I began to tell a lot of people that, yes, so I had been raped, right? But I'm on this journey of healing and recovery. Mama is here. Sorry. Mama is here. Thank you for joining, ma. Thank you. So I began to intentionally open up about my experience. So I spoke. I told as many persons as I could tell that, see, I had just been raped, I've experienced sexual abuse, but I'm intentionally on this journey of healing and recovery because I know that I can be healed, because I know that speaking up is powerful. And the more I opened up about the experience, the more I realized that resources were coming. Resources to help me on the journey of healing were coming. I began to get a lot of books. I began to get a lot of materials, even sermons, Bible passages, just because I opened up about the experience. And then speaking up about the experience also helped me with my emotions, helped me with my mind, because I've learned that once we shield things, right, as I mentioned earlier, it festers. The more I spoke about, for every time I talked about the experience, it was like the onion bulbs the layers were being removed, and all of the trauma, all of the pain were just disappearing, right? So speaking up was also very important for me. And then I did a lot of confessions and affirmations. I am big on what God has spoken concerning my life, right? So irrespective of whatever life experience I undergo, I consistently try to remind myself everything God has spoken concerning my life. So I did a lot of confessions, affirmations, what God has spoken concerning my life, all of the promises that God had given to me in the Bible. I had to confess it over and over and over again. Then I made sure I did not isolate myself. I spoke to it. I told my friends that for this thing I'm undergoing, I would not want to do it alone. And they were very supportive, my friends, my family members. So they kept moving me from one house to the other. So I would stay with these friends for 1 week. I would go to the other friend's house, stay for another 1 week, but they made sure that I was not isolated. So when you're undergoing your journey of healing and recovery, one thing the devil will try to do would be to isolate you and make you feel as though your entire world has come to an end. But that is a lie. So it was important for me to know that in as much as I am going through this phase, I am going through this journey, I'm not supposed to do it alone, because in the beginning, I saw that God said that it was not good for man to be alone, man being male, female. So it was important for me to embark on that journey, knowing that I have people, and those people were there to support me. So community was very important. Speaking up was very important. Then also seeing the experience as an opportunity to give glory to God was also very important. So I did not deny the experience. So for a lot of survivors, something they do would be to deny that, oh, the rape didn't happen. No, I owned the experience. Yet, yes, it happened, but that's not where the story ends. I know I'm serving the God who knows the end from the beginning, and I'm going to follow him until I get to that point where I enjoy the healing that he has given to me, right? So because I know God, because I know that God can heal me, God can help me enjoy healing and recovery, I did not live in denial. I opened up, I owned the experience, and I told myself that, okay, I am going to document this entire process until I get to that point where I would have resources that can say, this is what God started doing in my life, this is where I am now, and this is how the journey has been, and these are the results that I've gained over the years, right, on my journey to healing and recovery. So those are some of the things I did. On a lot more, I made sure that I created fun memories. I began to create new memories for myself, because sometimes when these things happen, you can, like I mentioned earlier, you self-isolate, right? But in order to help my mind, I began to create new fun memories with my friends. I began to do exciting things just to make sure that I don't stay indoors and wallow in self-pity. Because the more you wallow in self-pity, the more the devil has an upper hand over you, and you would struggle with believing what God has said concerning you. So creating fun memories, spending time with loved ones, committing to my journey of healing and recovery, diving into scriptures and sermons to hear what God has said concerning me, speaking up and seeing the experience as an opportunity to glorify God and to help other people were some of the basic things I did on my journey of healing to the point of wholeness.
Wow, like, okay, your story is really amazing, because what I got from you is that you decided to take charge at the end of the day, that you accepted that this happened to you. And
Sure.
some great points that you mentioned is that you decided that you are not going to isolate yourself, that you are going to get a support system, which matters. So you looked out for people who went through the same experience that you went through. And also just the fact that you were able to just encourage yourself in the scripture. I actually didn't know that Joyce Meyer had experienced it. I just know that she's a very big pastor that I admire, but I didn't know that she had experienced it.
You need to research her and know how deep her story was. Hers was her father, and it happened for a long time. Mine, the first one, my first experience was a rape, but the second one, which was rape, was armed robbers. So you see that for me, mine was a stranger. The rape experience was a stranger, and it happened once. But just it was her father, and it happened consistently for a long time. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's actually wow. And also just the fact that you said that at the end of the day, you decided that you are going to continue to speak out. And the fact that speaking out was also something that made you realize that you said that as you were speaking out, the trauma layers were moving away.
Yeah.
I would assume that sometimes when you are speaking out, it brings up the hurt and pain. But I thought it was interesting to know that you saying that you speaking out was what enabled you to continue to sort of like push that trauma away. And most important, that people shouldn't deny it, but accept that it happened and still try to move on. Thank you so much for sharing that.
When you're speaking about the experience, it's not as though the pain is not going to come up. It's not as though you're not going to feel the pain, but you will feel the pain, so you will know where you need help in. So if I'm talking about it and I still feel that my emotions are being tampered with, and I still feel somehow about myself, I know that, okay, I have to dive deeper in helping myself and my emotions.
Wow.
So it's not just the pain is going to surface, the pain is going to pop up, but it's not to look at the pain in isolation of it being pain. Every pain is a message. It's letting you know that something is wrong, something is amiss. So I think I paid so much attention to the pain to know what exactly is this pain telling me. If the pain was leading me towards relating negatively with the opposite sex, I know that, okay, that particular point of my life, I need to soak myself into scriptures to get healing in that area. So every pain you feel is a pointer that something is wrong and you actually need to sort it out. So I don't have issues feeling pain, but the point is, this pain I'm feeling, this pain you're feeling, what is this pain telling you? Right? So speaking up does that for you. It makes you feel the pain, and it lets you know that, okay, you need help in this particular area that you're feeling pain. If not, what are you giving God to heal? If you don't feel the pain, you are going to God telling God that, okay, I'm fine, I'm totally all right, but you're not. So feel the pain. But as you're feeling the pain, know that it does not end there. That the pain is letting you know that something is amiss, and that's an opportunity for you to invite God into that situation. So yes, feel the pain, but enjoy the healing.
Wow. That's actually such a big statement that you made. Every pain is a pointer. So what is the pain telling you? So that's something big that every survivor can take. If you are still feeling the pain, you need to still dive deep in there so that you know how you can heal from it.
Sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I also wanted to talk about a whole rape culture in general, because I don't think most people are aware of what rape culture is. So I wanted us to talk about what is rape culture, what do you think rape culture is in Nigeria, and also like how can each and every person take steps to eradicate.
Okay, so when I was preparing for this, based on the topic of the conversation, I told myself I was going to separate it. There's rape and there's culture. So culture is a way of life. Simple definition, of course, they told us that in social studies in secondary school, that culture is a way of life, right? So when we say, I wrote something down, I said when we say that culture is defined as a way of life. So rape culture will mean practices, right, that adopt rape as a normal way of life. That's my basic definition of what rape culture is. Every practice, every conversation, every silence that adopts rape as a normal way of life is under the umbrella of rape culture. And in Nigeria, we have it. Not just Nigeria, I've also realized that it's a global problem. It's not just a Nigerian thing, it's a global problem. So the rape culture is there, so much so that sometimes you are stigmatized, right? You are stigmatized for speaking up. Someone looks at you and once they say, okay, this is what you are a survivor of rape, they begin to look at you a certain way, right? That is also a byproduct of the rape culture. So in Nigeria, it's prevalent so much so that sometimes you go into the police station to report a rape case and they're looking at you like, this is normal, get over it. Then one of the most annoying definitions of rape I've heard from someone says it's basic sex. So why are you making so much fuss about it, right? So in our environment, the conversations we have around this thing, it's a problem. It keeps enforcing the rape culture. I remember I went for advocacy one day in a school, and when we're done speaking with the students and we went outside, I was taking pictures with my volunteers, and a young man was passing by. This man would be in his late 30s or early 40s. So at the back of my shirt, I wrote, there was a message I wrote down there. It said, there is life after rape. And the man paused and saw us, and he was like, so what is rape? What are you people talking about? And I tried to educate him on what rape was about. He was like, he doesn't believe that there's anything like rape. And I'm like, you see, a lot of persons, yes. Wow. I think that was in 2017. And he just gave me a pointer that in as much as we think that we are advocating online, on social media, when you take this message down to the grassroots, you take this message down to the schools, a lot of persons cannot relate to what you're talking about. They think it's a normal way of life. Because, of course, if you look at our environment, sex has become a normal way of life. It's everywhere. It's on TV, it's on the radio, it's in our music video. So it has become a normal way of life. Even when they are advertising stuff, so sex has become a normal way of life. So when you broach the conversation of rape, people look at you like, okay, you're taking this in too far. Sex is common, so why are you making a big deal out of it, right? But we have to do more in helping a lot of persons understand that even sex is not basic, least of all rape being basic sex, right? So we have to do a lot of educating. We have to spearhead a lot of conversations to let people know that rape culture actually does exist, and sometimes consciously and unconsciously we're feeding it. You're feeding it when a young child is raped and the child is telling you, mommy, I've been raped, and you tell her, oh, keep quiet, don't talk about it. You're feeding the rape culture when it's your husband or your wife that abuses someone and you're trying to hide it and make sure that no one hears about it. You're feeding the rape culture when you invite a lawyer into this case to help you handle it. And the next thing you say, you want to settle out of court. And what you mean by settling out of court, you want someone to give your child money. What is money going to do for the trauma that this child has undergone? Why shouldn't that abuser, why shouldn't that person go through the due process? Why shouldn't justice be served? Even if I'm going to talk about rehabilitation somewhere along the line, but a lot of persons do not know that what they are doing, they're actually feeding the rape culture by the conversations that they have, by the things that they allow, by the things they don't even allow. And that's how the rape culture keeps spreading. That's why it's looking as though a lot of persons are advocating. We are talking about rape, we're talking about sexual abuse, and it's like we're just pouring water on the back of a duck, and it just shakes itself and moves, because we have real work that we have to do. There's so much we have to do. We have to get into educating people that this thing actually does exist. I told someone one time that because we have not seen the life of an individual as an important part of the national economy, we are not going to take it as important as it should be. So when you see that each individual is connecting or contributing intentionally, right, massively to the economy of a nation, when a child is raped, you're going to take it much more important, because you have seen that an integral part of this nation is being affected. So what can we do to help this person? And then generally, what can we do to ensure that these kind of things do not happen? For every rape victim or sexual abuse victim you see, just have it at the back of your mind that this is a destiny that is being truncated, and if we don't do something about it, that child is going to grow up and become a menace to the society. We have a lot of correction that we are doing. That's because we have not taken time to see human beings as valuable as they are. Until we get to that point when we see humans, irrespective of how old the person is, irrespective of their status, until we see them as valuable, until we see one human life as valuable, we won't do everything we're supposed to do to ensure that we end this rape conversation we are having in Nigeria and in Africa. And that's why we keep feeding the rape culture, and these things keep happening. When they announce rape cases online, I'm usually quiet, and I delve into the comment section of some of these things, and I hear what people are saying, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been on this thing for 4 years and people have never gotten it right. Get into the comment section of cases when they're reporting rape cases or sexual abuse cases. My heart breaks every time, so much so that I can't even talk. I'm usually quiet most of the time. People will tag me, Maureen, come and see you. I'm quiet because my heart will break every time I read comment section. People do not know that this is a problem, and that is a problem. For people not to know that rape, sexual abuse is a problem, it's a problem. It will keep happening. So we have to keep being intentional about everything we are doing to ensure that we spearhead these conversations. We take it to the communities, we take it to the Senate, take it everywhere. Let people know that people have been affected. Our nation is being affected. The economy of our nation is being affected. That's because we have a lot of people who have issues with their life that they have not dealt with. Let's not talk about the statistic for rape survivors or rape victims. Let's not talk about it. But for every victim who does not intentionally go through the journey of healing and recovery, we have someone who's not going to maximize their potential. We have someone whose life is going to be truncated. We have someone whose destiny, right, or whose contribution to the advancement of the nation is being truncated. So until we escalate these things, we're not going to see it as a big deal, and it's a problem. I'm sorry, I'm so passionate about this thing. It's
no. Honestly, I could hear you speak for a long time, because what you are saying is just filled with so much insight, honestly. Like, it's just big. The fact that you are saying that one of the ways that people can stop it is also, like the way you said, acceptance. When somebody says that they have gone through this, is to also believe them and not tell them to be silent or to not hide it.
Yeah.
And the fact that not everybody is even aware of rape culture is big, because you think that since these things happen so much in the news, people would know what it means. But some people just see it as a way of life, you know. Some people just see it as normal. Like if somebody has an urge, they can do whatever they want. So there really needs to be that instruction that no, this isn't normal. People are human beings and everybody should be valued, and people shouldn't just be treated anyhow, that you should just impose control over another person. So education is big, and it's something that needs to happen often, because the more people that are educated, when you see something that is wrong, you can speak out and tell somebody else that this is not how it should be. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I wanted to also discuss your organization, what you are doing with Demystify Abuse. Tell me a little bit about how you started and how your organization helps survivors, and how survivors can really get help through what you are doing.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, we started in 2016 after my personal rape experience. After surviving, a backstory. I was going to start an advocacy initiative to help survivors of sexual abuse. And the reason I wanted to do that was because growing up, I think I was about 10, 11 or 12 thereabout, I experienced sexual abuse. And growing up, I embarked on a journey of healing and recovery. And I saw that some of the things I knew, some of the resources I had access to, a lot of the young people did not have access to it. So when we're having conversations, I hear people talking about, oh, every 4 in 5 person has been either abused or raped. And I'm like, oh, so this is crazy. So some of the resources I had, a lot of persons did not have it. And I also saw that among my peers, people had seen this thing as normal. And they say, this they abuse me, and they talk about it casually. And I'm like, no, don't be casual. It's a big deal. So when I saw that people had made it a normal way of life, right? And I knew it wasn't normal. I knew that it was affecting people. So sometime in 2016, I think that was mid-2016, I said I was going to do something to help survivors of sexual abuse. And that was to start in the following year, which was 2017. I think it got to November of that year, November 15th. I have received for all of these things. November 15th. So I made a post on social media that I needed a graphic designer to help me design a logo for something I was going to kickstart the following year. So I got a lot of recommendations. Then I spoke with a particular graphic designer, and we agreed that he was going to send me a logo before the end of the day. And he did. He sent in the logo at about 1:45 a.m. That was 16th of November 2016. And we didn't discuss it. I just told him I had seen it and we would talk about it the following day, because that day I was having ovulation pains. And then I hung up. I stopped chatting with him, and I began to talk with my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, because we used to talk every night. So while having this conversation with my boyfriend, armed robbers broke into my house that day. That was 15-20 minutes after I had received the logo that I was going to kickstart the advocacy initiative. When the robbers broke in and raped me at gunpoint, a bomb took off in my head. And the only thing I could say was, wow, this was the devil trying to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. Because after the rape happened, I could have said, oh no, I can't do this. I've been raped, right?
Yeah.
But when it happened, and I'm like, oh, experience or what it was, I could recognize it as the devil trying to stop me from doing what God had laid in my heart to do. And once I was able to recognize that, I knew that I was going to take the opposite direction. So instead of shutting down, instead of delving into the stage of pity party, I told myself, okay, we are going to feel the pain, we are going to do it anyway, right? I remember I called my boyfriend then and I told him that, okay, this thing I wanted to do the next year, I'm not going to wait, because if I said I was going to do this thing and I was postponing it to the next year and I had just been raped, then it's an indication that this is a major problem. I don't have to pause to the following year to actually start what I wanted to do. I decided there and then that, okay, I was going to push this and I was going to push it as fiercely as I could. And I made that decision I was going to use my life. So I had to tell my mom, tell a few of my family members that if you see me on the internet tomorrow talking about the fact that I've been raped, just know that I'm fine. I'm undergoing my journey of healing, but it's not going to stop me from doing what I wanted to do, right? So that's the backstory to demystify abuse. So I started demystify abuse back to back immediately my rape happened. So I went to the hospital, got tested, and the next thing I had to put together an event to start the awareness, and I'm stubborn.
Wow.
So I put the event together in the same neighborhood where the rape happened.
Wow.
So that armed robber, yes, that armed robber that threatened me, I had to dare him. I'm like, I'm doing this thing and I'm doing it global. Let's see who's going to win this thing. Is either I win or I win. Because I knew, of course, I knew the backing I had. As a child of God, you know you have backing, so you can dare things. So I intentionally started demystify abuse. That was shortly 2 weeks after the rape happened. I was still processing my healing and recovery, and I was still doing what what I was doing, helping other survivors. Because what's the point? I'm undergoing healing. I don't have to wait till my healing is complete before I can help the next person. So every resource I have, everything I had at my disposal, I was willing to share. If I did not have any resource at all, at least I knew the power of speaking up. And I was going to start, and I was going to start a
connection.
Oh, sorry. So I knew that I was going to start a campaign of speaking up. So I had to encourage a lot of people to actually speak up. And that was what we began to do, encouraging people to speak up. Then from there, we went into schools. I think so far we visited about 6 to 7 secondary schools and primary schools, just to let them know that rape does happen, rape exists. This is how you can shield yourself. And if eventually it happens, you have to report to your teachers, report to your parents or someone. Then I also went with the message of letting people know that if you have experienced it before, your life does not have to end, right? You can still undergo healing and still arrive at that point where your life would not be truncated by experience. And of course, whenever I have that conversation, I let them know that, okay, I'm not just telling you something, I'm living it. If I tell you healing is possible, that's because I'm living it. I tell them my story, I share my story with them just to encourage them and let them know that what I'm saying is actually very possible. So we go into schools to do all of this advocacy. And some time ago, we visited 2 IDP camps in Abuja. I was in Abuja for that season, and I had received a lot of messages that so much was happening in IDP camps, and it wasn't being reported as much as. And I'm like, okay, since I'm in Abuja, or since I was going to be in Abuja at that time, I rallied together a team, and we went to 2 IDP camps at 2 different times. I think one was 2017, the next was 2018. We visited 2 IDP camps in Abuja, had this conversation with them. And of course, for every time we visit anywhere, if we visit a school, we go with some relief materials. Basically, we go with books and some stationery just to back up the message that we came with. Sometimes people will listen to you better when they see that you care about them and what they are dealing with. So when we go to schools, we don't just go with the message that we have. We also go with something to support the student or to support the school. So when we go to schools, we go with books, we go with textbooks, we go with stationery. We also go with sanitary pads. When we went to the IDP camps, we went with food items, we went with clothes, we went with sanitary pads, and a lot of other things. But a lot of times when we have done what we've done, we didn't do it alone. We had support. We collaborated with a lot of organizations, FIDA, SAFE, a lot of organizations. I can't remember their name, but there are a lot. Like CASAF, Clive. Those are some of the amazing organizations that have partnered with us to do what we do. Sometimes individuals also donate, give to the organization. Whenever we want to have an outreach, we announce it and let people know we are going to this particular location. This is what we need. We need sanitary pads, we need clothes, and people donate. That's usually what we do. And then we have the assignment we do offline, where when a rape case is reported to us, we partner with some organizations. For one, we partner with FIDA. So if you need a lawyer, I don't have lawyers working with me, but I have FIDA. I partner with them. So once I receive some of these cases, I know who to direct them to. I direct them to FIDA. If there are cases in a state where I'm not resident, I know a lot of organizations that I can refer you to get the help that you need. So I'm not doing it alone. I have a lot of I have a lot of support and people that I work with to help us achieve what we do. And of course, we have what we call our avenues of service. Those are the different ways we reach out to, the different ways we share the message that we carry. So we have the school outreach, like I mentioned. We have the outdoor outreach that we also put together. We have the outreach to churches, where we also go with this message that we have to let them know that this happens and this is how we can support them. Then we also have something we call parenting positive parenting, because over the years we realized that part of the problem is that some of these children are not able to open up to their parents about what they are dealing with. So we try to have conversations with parents on how to be more open, how to be more present in the life of their children, so that children can open up and tell them what's going on. There was a case that I was handling at one point, and the girl was so adamant and refused me from telling her parents. This girl was so young, she was 14, but she knew that her parents were not going to take it lightly with her. They were going to blame her, even if it wasn't her fault and all of that. So she was so scared, and she said, no, Auntie Maureen, don't tell my parents here. So we had to find a way, maybe tell the elder sister, tell maybe an elder brother to help manage the situation. So we have positive parenting to help with all of that, right? Then we have what we call prayer plug. So I believe that rape, in as much as it happens physically, it has its own spiritual implications, right? Of course, reading through the pages of the Bible, you're going to see a lot of stories and some of these things. So I'm not blind to the fact that rape has spiritual implications, and that's one thing that I bring to what I do with the Demystify Abuse campaign. I pay attention to the spiritual. I pray because my journey, prayer helps me. If I did not pray, if I did not study the Bible, I won't be this person I am now, publicly sharing my story with this audacity that I'm sharing my story. That's because I prayed about it. So I'm not going to hide the most important Jews in what I do because I want to be diplomatic or I want to be politically correct. Prayer is important. It helps me. It's going to help anyone who believes in the potency of prayer. So through prayer plug, what we do is we pray. We pray for ourselves. We pray for survivors world over. And one of the most important things I did was to dedicate the 16th of every month to pray. At least to pray for one. I pray for 1 hour. I do it alone for now. I've also I do that alone. Then I've also partnered with one amazing sister, Chinemere Wealth, where we had one virtual prayer session online just to pray for sexual-based violence victims, survivors of that. So prayer is very important. So we have prayer plug under what we do with Demystify Abuse campaign. So these are some of the avenues of service via which we carry out our assignment.
Wow, that's amazing. And I also like the fact that you carry your faith with you very strongly, because that's also an encouragement to other people that this is one of the ways that they can heal. So that's one of the amazing things about you. And just lastly, before we go, I wanted to talk about that aspect of, you said that you work with FIDA, so sometimes you can refer people to FIDA, because I wanted to talk about that judicial aspect, because getting justice is something that you can't really, I think that's something that you need to factor into this conversation, because at the end of the day, if there's no justice, people think that they can continue to carry this on anyhow, and then there will be no consequences for rape. So what are your thoughts on getting justice? And the people that you refer to, is there any justice?
Okay, so my approach to justice is quite different. And of course, it falls back to my faith. So, in as much as I advocate for justice, right? I like I mentioned earlier, I have FIDA. So when we have any case that needs to get to that system, I refer you to FIDA, and then they take it off from there. But I am of the opinion that it doesn't end there. And I'm careful to say this because the conversation around rape is very touchy. And people might struggle with what I'm going to say. But I'm going to say it anyway, because my life and my assignment, I answer to God most importantly. And whatever message He gives me, that's the message I'm going to carry. That's the message I'm going to push. So one of the things that I pay attention to is the fact that these abusers too, they are children of God and they need help. It takes the contribution of the devil for you to fall down from the God state that God intended you to live in, for you to fall to the point where you begin to rape people. So I recognize that you need help. If you abuse somebody, if you rape somebody, you need help. And I'm not quick to dismiss people. I'm not quick to say, okay, this person has done this, let us kill this person or let us do this. Yes, you can serve justice. But if it was left to me and left to me alone, serving justice is not going to end there. There would have to be a system of rehabilitation. So yes, you're serving them. Yes, you're serving them. Yes, you're serving them for what you do, because we live in a land that has a law. We have a justice system and we have to recognize it. We have to obey it. So if you do something, you have to serve them, right? But I'm not going to leave you there. While you're serving them, we should introduce a system of rehabilitation to help these people, because they are still children of God. Something happened to them, and whatever happened to them is still an effect of the fall. So for me, as a child of God, I don't give up on you as an abuser. And people fight me for this a lot of time, because one time I said that someone.
Sorry, let's wait for the connection to get back in again. So Maureen was just talking about the whole aspect of the judicial system. And what she was saying was actually really very interesting, because she was saying that as much as getting justice matters, what also matters is how these individuals who have committed these acts are being rehabbed back into society. How are they, what process are they going to go through, because they also need healing and they also need help. So that's actually significant, and it's something that we don't actually think about also, because I tend to think about justice aspects also. So Maureen is going to come back on. The connection just went off a bit, but she was really just emphasizing the fact that people who commit rape, they also need to be rehabbed back into society, because they need help too. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes left, because I know the connection has been a bit on and off, and it's already an hour. So I don't want this conversation to exceed an hour, especially because our connection is not too strong. So I'm going to give Maureen a few minutes to come back in and round up. And thank you so much for listening to this. And I hope you can share it with somebody who needs to hear this conversation and hear this message. So let me try to invite her back in. She says that she has a lot of different internet for when one isn't too strong. So I'm going to invite her again. And we'll see.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, you're back. Sorry. Yes. Yeah, no, the connection is not too great. But okay, yes, I think that is best for us to just simply round up. But I like the points you made about the fact that as much as weak justice is important, the people who are committing these acts, they also need to be rehabbed back into society. So that's a big aspect that we need to think about also, or else they'll just keep on continuing on like that. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Maureen. If there's any additional thing you want to add, you can just let me know, and so we don't exceed an hour.
Okay. So if there's anything I'm going to say to, of course, it's going to be directed to survivors. And like I mentioned earlier, you first things first, you have to believe that healing is possible. Like, I can't overemphasize that, because that's the foundation upon which you're going to enjoy any form of wholeness or healing that is possible. You have to believe it, and belief is mental. After you have mentally believed that the healing is possible, then you can start to act upon the mental belief that you have attained. And acting upon that would require you to get help. If you need to see a therapist, if you need to see a counselor, get help. If it means you speaking up, screaming and letting somebody know that you need help, get help. And when they're helping you, you have to know that it's not as much as the journey is starting. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take some time. It might take you a while, but healing is possible and you can enjoy it. And I put together a guide. I put together a simple guide to also help survivors, and it's free. It's called First Aid Guide for Survivors. So if you need it, it's free. You can get it via the link in my bio. You're going to, once you click the link on my bio, it will redirect you to a platform. You will see Get My Books. And once you're able to access that link, you can find the book for free on my seller platform. So it's important for everyone to, of course, every survivor to read through it. Basically, what I captured in the book as some of the things I did to help me on my journey of healing and recovery. And I decided that, okay, we have been helped. Freely we receive, freely we give. So I was able to compile it, and I put it out for free for anyone who's interested in getting it. So you can find it on the link in my bio.
Yeah, First Aid Guide for Survivors.
Yeah.
Yes. Well done, Maureen. Well done. It was really great to have this discussion with you. You are doing an amazing job. And for more people that need more help and resources, definitely check out all the links in her bio. Thanks again, and just well done.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Yes.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes.